Cool.
Yeah.
Now the pressure's on.
Well, yeah, like I was gonna say, if you just want to, they'll probably be on in 5 or 10 minutes, but we can kind of talk about whatever for a bit if you'd like to wait until they get on, or you can just go ahead and get started.
Okay. Yeah, I'd well, I definitely would like them to be on.
Yeah. Okay. Here's Adelaide right now. I would agree. It's just you see, there's the other side of it. Is like sometimes it's like you start talking and then it's like
yeah,
pop on and it's like, all right, well, this is what we're doing. All right.
That's good.
Hey, Claire, Natalie.
That was cool. I was just like, yeah, I think I want to wait for Adeline and Claire to show up, and then as soon as you immediately called in, and then y'all were both there, so that's perfect.
So is Allie not with y'all?
No, she has to work till 10 today.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
She was here last time.
But,
You what?
So I did.
She was here last time.
But.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. What'd you say one more time?
Who are you asking?
Allie.
Anyone? Okay. Allie was there last time.
She was at their place when I was over there.
Oh, I see. Right.
Yeah. I was just saying I did not text her, but she mentioned on Sunday that she was in the group chat, but I don't know.
I don't know. I'll check. But yeah, no, she's working till 10 today.
Okay.
But
how's she doing?
She's, I don't know, like she just is like, to me, like I think she's just not receiving very well. So she's just like kind of throwing herself into like bad habits. And like I told her to make her bed today.
There you go.
Yeah. And
start with what you can control.
Yeah. And she's like, there's laundry on it. And she's like, I'm just tired. And I was like, just take like 5 extra minutes in the morning. Like it's super important. And she was just like, yeah, but I could get 5 more minutes of sleep. And then at that point, I was like, she's just arguing with me. And I was just like, there's nothing else I can say. Like, even though 5 minutes of sleep, like, wouldn't make a difference versus getting up and making your bed. Yeah.
Yeah, starting your day with you. So the universe is aligned with you being first.
Yeah. So hopefully hopefully it'll click soon. But it's just, she apologized after, like, because we were kind of like, we're not arguing or anything, but it was just like she was throwing everything that I was saying down, and then she apologized after. She was like, sorry, I was so negative. Like, I love you. Like, thank you for like talking to me. Bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Yeah. So it's just step by step. She's at the beginning. The beginning is always the hardest.
Yeah. Can be.
Yeah. Like an ego. Mm-hmm.
Cool, guys. Well, I guess we'll just get started. So thanks for having me. This will be my first class I think I've ever done. I've done talks before in the past with like groups of people, but it was they kind of like gave me an outline already. You know, this is the first time I'm actually coming up with something for the group that I want to talk about and that's like near and dear to me. So yeah, like I mentioned on the chat, I wanted to kind of bring up more heart-based type of stuff, particularly a healing modality. You can call it mirroring, spiritual mirroring, the mirror exercise, whatever you want to call it. So, all right. So this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to just kind of give a little like information about it. And then we can open up for discussion. And then I actually want to practice it with a few of you guys, whoever feels compelled to do it. We can actually practice it, and I'll like help guide you. And we'll see what can come from it. All right. Cool.
Sounds good.
So I wanted to start off with this quote. It says, "Your heart is free. Have the courage to follow it." Does anyone know where that's from? It's actually from Braveheart. I was watching a clip, and that's what William Wallace's father told him, like in a dream, because he just got killed, and he was telling William Wallace, put aside any historical inaccuracies of it, William was being groomed to be like the hero of Scotland, and that's what his father told him. Like, I guess when he was about to pass over into the spirit world, your heart is free and have the courage to follow it. Now, things like this, you know, they were used. This quote was used to like kind of inspire him and to help him grow. And you know, like at first glance, you would think it's like, oh yeah, you know, be all you can be, you know, like follow your dreams and stuff like that. It kind of has that connotation to it, right? But I'm using the way I want to use it is to actually shed light on the aspects of ourselves that we're afraid to look at. So the dark aspects, the shadow side. And so that's what I also mean by have the courage to follow it, have the courage to really look within yourself and see what areas of your life, of your heart, your being that that need love. And I do believe this is the heart of the matter when it comes to our spiritual path, pun intended. Uh, you know, because the knowledge aspect of the spiritual journey is infinite, right? It goes on forever, literally. But your heart can, when your heart finds peace, you know, that's really the foundation where everything else can flow from. That's the place where knowledge can just kind of come as it will, and you can build from that place when your heart is solid, when your heart is foundational. So yeah, so I'll ask a question. So what do you guys feel is the ultimate truth of the universe? If you could like just real like one 2 words, what is ultimate truth? What do you feel like it is?
That love conquers all.
Good one. Anyone else? Everyone agree on that?
Yeah.
Love.
Cool. Yeah, perfect. So I put unconditional love is the ultimate truth.
Yeah.
And so when you break down that word, like unconditional love, it means love without conditions, right? The love that transcends all things, all sins, all iniquities, all failures, all faults. It just keeps on going, keeps on loving. You know, therefore, this type of love can actually only be accepted or allowed into your life. You can't. It's not something that you can earn, right? So in truth, we are actually simply keeping ourselves from receiving this love. And we do that by believing things that aren't true, believing lies about ourselves. And these are the blocks for receiving love, right? So yeah, so with that definition out of the way, I want to actually talk about, sorry, hold on, I gotta pull up my phone. So mirroring itself. If you look it up online, I guess this is like a psychological definition. They say mirroring is the behavior in which a person unconsciously imitates the gesture, speech pattern, or attitude of another. Mirroring often occurs in social situations, particularly in the company of close friends or family. Mirroring is a subconscious replication of another person's nonverbal signals. And I know we've talked about this before, Alex, like, you know, when someone like, you know, walks into a room and everyone's like standing up and down for really no reason. And then people just start mirroring that, right? But that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about that. I guess the dictionary definition of mirroring is to show a reflection of a reflective surface. And that's a lot closer to the definition of what spiritual mirroring is all about. And so when I say spiritual mirroring, it's a method of introspection using reality itself as the mirror to which you look within.
So looking at your reality that you've kind of developed and seeing that as a reflection of yourself?
Sort of, sort of. That's one layer, but the deeper layer that is really like at the root of all this is it's not the situation or the place that you're in specifically. It's the emotion you feel about it, right? And that's why this is really heart-based stuff, because we could both be watching the exactly same movie, but we can have two totally different experiences about it, right? In the same way, like, let me try to give a good example. I remember there was this one time when Chevy and I, remember when we were in that cabin in for Amy's birthday?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we were going out one night, and we went to see a show. Everyone was kind of, everyone was rolling type of thing. And I was kind of having a bad come down. And I remember specifically, I was sitting there and I swear I thought that everyone was like verbally attacking each other, and it was making me so uncomfortable. I was like, oh my goodness, like, why are my friends like attacking each other? Like, this is not what it's about. Like I can't believe this. But I was so like, I felt so incapacitated. Like I could do nothing but just close my eyes and just like try to like ignore it or sleep it off. And I remember the next day I was asking Chevy, he's like, hey, like, what was up with that? And Chevy was like, oh, we weren't like that at all. Like we were having a good time. Like, I don't know what was happening with you. And that really blew my mind, because it really, really felt like everyone was kind of at each other's throats. That's an extreme example. And obviously I don't recommend people to go into really dark places with substances in order to figure that out.
So,
But
what you're saying is it's how you're feeling can make any situation kind of negative or positive.
right, because it's the events of life itself are neutral,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's our perception of it.
Yeah.
And if we feel off about something when it appears in our reality, it's an indicator to look within and see really what's going on, and that's why I say this is really like the heart of the spiritual work, because it's like people who they want to like run away from their problems, right? So they'll move city to city, but then in each city they'll encounter the exactly same issues every single time, because they haven't given themselves that space to actually make a new choice, like a new inner choice, right? They'll point the finger externally and say like, oh, well, it's this problem, it's Houston's fault, so I'm going to go to San Diego. And then they go to San Diego and I'm like, well, it's San Diego's fault, so I'm going to go to Chicago, right? And this cycle will keep on repeating over and over and over again until you finally look within. You stop pointing the finger externally, point it internally, however that looks, right? However uncomfortable that may be, and make a new inner choice. And from that new inner choice, your external reality will reflect that. And that doesn't necessarily mean the situation will change, but the way you handle it, the way you react to it will change. And from that place, like, things happen, new things happen. Reality will rearrange itself in order to fit that new inner choice you made.
Sounds almost like, for every problem that you may find, someone else would see that problem as an opportunity.
Exactly. See, it's the exactly same situation, but the perception of it, one will see it as a blessing, the other will see it as a curse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is life. This is life on like pretty much every level, really. Let's see. I'll give another example. So this is a really good one. So when we went biking a couple of weeks ago, my phone fell out of my pocket. Chevy was there. Alex, were you there when it happened? No, you weren't. You weren't there. You already went home. Yeah. So we were biking around, and like my phone fell out of my pocket, and I realized later on that it knocked the battery out of place, and it basically made it so I couldn't charge my phone. So it was stuck like on 3%, and it would always be shutting down like periodically. So it's like, I'm like, oh crap, like my phone is unusable. Like, what am I gonna do? I started to freak out, you know, because like it's my livelihood, it's my form of connection. It's I had this attachment to it, right? As many of us do, but this was like a very clear indicator. It's like, oh crap, it's like I'm really attached to my phone right now, you know. So it kind of put a damper for a little bit on like the rest of the evening. And I know like Chevy and, you know, Brian KZ, they noticed it in my demeanor. But they helped me. Like I eventually kind of calmed down. I was like, okay, well, this is what I'll do. Like I'll I'll take it to the shop tomorrow, you know. So I did the steps. Long story short, I got it handled, got it back up and running, and I actually backed up my files, which was that's really the first time I did it, because I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna make sure this doesn't happen again. So check this out. So that was about 3 weeks ago. This past Sunday, I was coming back from a camping trip that I went with like my high school friends and like their children. So it was really like, you know, family friendly type of thing. And I felt myself getting more and more peaceful throughout the weekend, which was great, because that's I really needed to just get out. And as I was coming back to Houston on that Sunday, I had an open house. And, you know, I was feeling good about it. I was still feeling really peaceful. And as I was setting up my open house signs, I hear a vibration, or I feel the vibration of my phone. I reach out to get it, and it slips out of my hand, my phone, bounces one time on its side, like perfectly on the concrete, and straight into the sewer.
Oh my God.
Right? Like it was perfectly timed to do that. Like absolutely perfectly timed to do that. Hey, Kanuta. So between the first time it happened and this, so the first time it happened, I still had my phone with me, and it's like, okay, there's still a possibility I can resurrect this phone, right? But this time it was completely gone. It was completely destroyed, you know? Like it was in a place that was unreachable. And I actually did try to get it, but it just wasn't possible. So,
Shit.
So on one hand, the second time was technically a worse situation, but I only freaked out about it for maybe like 5 seconds. You know, there was that initial shock of like, oh no, like it's gonna happen. But I already knew in my mind, it's like, oh, this is another test of like non-attachment, and it's showing that like the true communication comes from within me. It doesn't come from something here that's external, you know. And I immediately, you know, I did my open house, and I immediately went to take care of it like right after. And I got my phone, and guess what? The backups were already there from the time before. So it kind of just followed that, you know. So it was this huge lesson in non-attachment, and understanding that true communication was within myself. It's not on anything external, you know. Plus I get a new phone out of it, so it's kind of, you know, it's a little blessing in disguise there. But so yeah, so that's one situation.
Yeah, that was a perfect example of how to handle your internal self, so
Right.
you know you can manage all the crap that's thrown your way.
Exactly.
Never stop.
Yeah, if you notice, like the situation was very similar. It had to do with my phone being destroyed, and in one hand, you know, the phone was still repairable. The other hand, it was completely destroyed. But when it was completely destroyed, I actually handled it with more grace and ease than the first time, even though the situation was worse. Right. So it just goes to show that it's not necessarily about the situation itself. Cool. All right, so hold on. Okay. So like this method, it's a you can also call it shadow work. It's a form of shadow work, inner child healing, etc. Right? It's a form of inner work. And some things to note, like don't get too caught up in the details of the situation or like judging the event. Um, like we get caught up in our head sometimes, like, oh, like is it true what they said? Like, oh, did that really happen? This or that. When it comes to this inner work, it's not so much about the details of it, more so how you feel about the situation. That's why that's why it's a really heart-based modality, because you can apply this even to dreams, right? That's why often in like our dreams thing, you know, there's like a lot of details, and then I'll ask like, well, how did you feel about that? You know, because usually the emotion behind it is a really a telltale sign of kind of what's going on within you. Oh, Kanuta, can you put yourself on mute, please? And another thing is you have to be really completely honest with yourself. Um, I noticed in the past, like really before this year, I would judge the way I would feel about something. It's like, oh, you're not supposed to feel that way about this, right? Like, oh, that's wrong to feel that way. And like, no, like be completely honest with yourself. Um, like it's safe to feel the way you feel about something, because that is the very thing you need in order to heal. You need to have that awareness of whatever it is you feel.
So you're basically saying, and acknowledge the feelings that you feel.
Exactly. Because like there'd be times it's like you know let's just use an example like with our families. You know, like I know a lot of people like they really like have this like overwhelming like love for their families, like so much. um you know, like they're like and they'll be saying stuff like, oh yeah, of course, like she's my mom, she's my dad, you know, or he's my dad, things like that. You know, but there's times in my life when I feel very emotionally distant from my parents. And you know, there's a shame about that. It's like what, it's like how come other people can love so easily with their parents, but I have difficulty doing so, right? So yeah, it's once again, it's being completely honest with yourself and not judging yourself or adding extra shame on top of what you feel. And so what's this all about? Like why does this thing even exist, right? So the way I see it, you know, God is both an impersonal force, but also a personal entity as well. And you know, the God, the universe, you know, however you perceive it, is always speaking to you in really every way, right? And this is a method of that communication from God. He's always pointing you towards something to take the next step, to get out of your current cycle and to move forward with that. And by doing this, you're building that relationship with God, so you'll know how to see the signs and listen to the voice, right? The voice of truth that is leading you further and further down the path. And like I said before, as we make new inner choices, then our external reality will start to shift to match it.
So would you say that the way God is pointing it out is through your maybe discomfort with the emotion? Like if it's something that's uncomfortable to you, that's your clue in?
That's exactly it. For this particular modality, it's pointing to that which makes you feel uncomfortable. That's exactly it. That's why it's the shadow work. It's the part of yourself that you don't always want to look at, right? And And some of the stuff isn't too serious. It can be very subtle, very minor. But once again, don't judge like the severity of it. It's like, oh, it's like, well, it's not a trauma, so it must not be that important. It's like, no, like anything. Like it doesn't matter how small of an upset or uncomfortable it makes you feel. Like you can get something out of it, right? And that's what this is all about. It's like it's building your intuition and building your practice of moving through that which makes us uncomfortable. All right. So I put here, don't be surprised when a new trigger or upset arises. Like after you heal something or you feel like, oh yeah, like I'm done with that. Don't be surprised when a new trigger or upset arises, because you can never really hide or run away from your own shadow. But we can deepen our relationship with God and ourselves, and that will fundamentally change how we react and handle the things as they come up. So this kind of goes back to what you were saying, Alex. Like you're always like, oh, don't expect things to be like perfect all the time, right? Like something will always come up to challenge you again, always, right? So it's not about living a life that is free from problems, but it is about developing to where you feel strong enough to face them.
Right, because it's one of those things that humans are almost inherently unsatisfied creatures. What I mean by that is you could have all the money and still be unsatisfied. You want the next this, the next that, the next this, the next that, typically. Even if it's not money related, it could be experience, or I want to win the next thing, or I want this, that, or the other.
Right. Yeah. So we're kind of we were designed really to be unsatisfied, and that's why I say like the when you're going for all those things, like those are the things that they're infinite, right? You can always have more money, you can always have more pleasure, you can always have more this, more that. But if your heart is at peace, you will be content with what you have. And ironically, that also kind of gives you more of that, right? Because it's like you are now capable of wielding that which you are given, right? I was talking to a friend about this, I think today. Like if you give a like someone who's homeless, and this is like well documented, if you give someone who's homeless $1 million, the likelihood of them losing that whole thing, within a couple months is very, very high, right? Because they haven't done the work necessary to wield $1 million. And I like to use the word wield because it's like when you're playing a video game, you have to be a certain experience level in order to have a certain weapon in your inventory, right? It's like if you haven't reached that experience level, like holding that weapon would hurt you. Actually, it's like oh, it's like, yeah, you got to level up before you're given the opportunity, right? Yeah. So once again, it's always pointing back within yourself. Like your inner world will reflect externally, but it starts within. Cool. So a lot of inner work, it deals with awareness, but there's a final step of healing. There's a final step of the healing process, and you never want to skip the healing process. That's the most important part. So the awareness is good. I mean, really, there's no, like one doesn't really trump the other. It's, you have to have the awareness first, but then you have to heal. The awareness, don't just stop at the awareness. And I've been guilty of that. I'm like, oh yeah, like I know that this troubles me, this troubles me, this troubles me. But then when it actually comes to sitting down and doing the healing work itself, I tend to avoid that, for whatever reason, right? It's uncomfortable. It takes too much time, something, you can create a bunch of excuses, but And that's something that you can reflect upon yourself too. Ask yourself, it's like, why am I avoiding my own healing, you know?
Yeah.
So
I find, and I don't know, maybe not so much for the women, but I know you and I have talked about this, Chris, but I
mhm,
think also like you can distract yourself with the intellectual.
right.
Just you're like, yeah, okay, these are my issues. Now let me go study some more spiritual stuff.
Yeah, exactly, exactly, exactly. It's funny, yeah, but it's true. So, all right. So that's it for what I have to say about it. So I want to just, yes, open up questions or just discussion, and then we can actually test it out, try it out, and using your own personal upsets or triggers in your life. So, um, I guess start to think, if you feel like you'd want to do like a live on air healing session, mirroring session, we could try it out. So just start to think of something that um, that upsets you. Like I'll give you one example. So I actually wrote this down. I put, I'm upset because someone close to me judged me. Right. So that would be an example of an upset. And then I'll take you kind of through the steps of where you can go from that. I'll give you another one. Hold on. Oh, this is a good one. And by the way, so on this first part, it's totally okay to point the blame at someone else. Totally okay for that, right? Um, so I put here, I'm upset because working with my client is keeping me exhausted. Cool. So yeah, just want to open up the floor if y'all want to discuss anything first. Any questions, comments?
I'm really glad at the very end of your talk you said how, after you become aware of what you need healing, like sometimes you just like dismiss it like, oh, I figured it out. Like before you actually do the work. So I appreciate you saying that and pointing that out, because I'm like, oh, yeah, I do that too. So
Yeah,
yeah, so that was good calling it out.
we do that. We do that because that's a coping mechanism. It's really no different than people, turning to alcohol or harder drugs to deal with it. Like we get dopamine fixes off of learning something new, like watching videos that just kind of keep us preoccupied. Um, and sometimes that's actually people's advice on how to deal with something, like, oh, keep yourself busy. Like, oh, I'm feeling uneasy. Like, oh, keep yourself busy. That'll keep your mind off of it. But then you're always going to be running. It's the equivalent of someone going from city to city. You're technically just running away from your problems, just stationary mentally. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's like my most like I get the advice when you are trying to solve the problem, like keep yourself busy. If it's in the back of your mind, you're trying to solve it and you just can't do anything about it. But if you're avoiding it, yeah, that's just like,
Oh, you went mute again. Bree? Sorry.
oh, I was done. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool, thanks for that.
So we're essentially Windexing our mirrors through healing, and the Windex is like the healing of the mind. It's the actual like root of it. It's the thing that we've been attached to for however long, and we've been continually going down the cycle of whatever that trauma or that thing is,
Mm-hmm.
until we actually find out the actual cause of that root.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So in this or using this technique, you start by saying a statement like you said, like I'm upset because of this, or I'm upset about this.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you go from there? Do you trace it back and take it
Right.
to the root, or like where does the imagery of the mirror come into play?
Right, good question. That was actually going to be my the next thing. So yeah. So but I just wanted to talk about, I guess, just the concept in general, or just the whole idea before we actually go to like the step by step.
Well,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So one thing that that came to my mind in regards to um, the approach and how you're receiving information, or when things are pointed out to you, so to speak, is
Mhm.
that it doesn't. It's I would say that it's not so much God pointing things out, even as much as it may be just your higher self pointing things out. And that through listening to that higher self, you're ascending or octaving yourself closer to the resignation of God. And
Yeah.
so, and the reason I point that out is because I think if you make the association to it being your higher self, you personalize the awareness of those feelings so that it's you building a relationship to listening, understanding, and acting on your own higher consciousness, your navigator.
Right, exactly. You can really use anything you feel most comfortable with. So higher self, um, uh, God.
Yeah, and I'm not saying either is right or wrong.
Right. That is definitely a way for sure. Um, I remember talking to a friend about this, and she says she actually likes to view like a silhouette of an actual like universal galaxy type of entity. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't exactly, but
That's
I
what
was just gonna I was gonna say because you mentioned that I had read a meme a long time ago. I don't know if I ever shared it, but it was like
Mhm.
someone saying my favorite self-help tip is to pretend I'm a demon that's inhabiting this body, and I want to do the most I want to have the most capabilities and do the most shit with this body that I'm like possessing. So why am I going to fuck this body up? Like I'm going to eat right. I'm going to be healthy so I can like cause the maximum damage kind of a thing.
Oh, geez. Well, that's definitely a way. Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay, so you're trying to find a photo of I think, are you talking about like a Sipala?
That's exactly what I was looking up.
Yeah, I have the novel. Hold on.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you can pull it up, that'd be a great representation. Hold on. That's it. I don't know if y'all can see this. That's exactly what I was finding on Aldous Massey.
Yeah.
You can see like there's a silhouette, and yeah, it's really whatever you
So,
feel comfortable with. Yeah.
um, so I've been kind of, I haven't really studied like the shadow self and
Hmm.
only until like recently. Um, do the characteristics tend to be like just like kind of deep rooted character or behavior patterns that you kind of like tend to ignore in a way? Is
Hmm.
that how you see a shadow self or?
Yeah, that's definitely a big part of it. And the reason why we ignore it is because we feel that that part of ourselves is shameful or unlovable. At,
Mhm.
at the root of it, that's really what it is, you know. So this whole process is about accepting your whole self, right? And when I say accepting, I don't mean like, oh, you just like, oh, I'm just depressed and that's how it's gonna be. It's acceptance has there's a tone of love there, right? And the love itself that you receive, remember we were talking about unconditional love, that type of love is transformative. That the love itself will transform you. So, and I'm sure you all had experiences where you've loved someone so much that, you know, you'd be willing to go like way out of your way, and you had all this energy and this focus and this creativity to make it happen, right? But once again, at the end of the day, we have to sit with ourselves. Like we do this for others, and we don't do it for ourselves. And we are really the we externalize the source of this love, but in reality it comes from within. And so this is about removing those blocks that prevent us from seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge statement right there about, you know, caring or doing for somebody else. And, you know I've talked about that multiple times, where it's just like, you know, if I'm at a friend's house or something, so to speak, like they're doing something, like, you know, I may be more apt to like help them clean, or, you know what I mean, just help them pick up, so to speak. And then it's like I'm home by myself and I just look at it and just like, all right, not gonna do it today because I just want to be lazy. But it's like I could be the same amount of tired, the same amount of like, you know, whatever, and then it's like, but doing it for somebody else is like, oh yeah, we'll do it. Let's tackle it, you know.
Exactly. And that's a big thing I've been learning lately too. It's like I desire partnership, right? And it's like, can I give myself that level of partnership, right? Can I partner with God here? You know, can I partner with the divine self here, right? So
that's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah. Cool, guys. I think that's pretty good. So we can go to the next step. I'll lay out the steps, and then I'll do one for myself. And then if anyone feels wants to do it and I can help guide you guys, we'll do that. All right. So step one is you state the upset. So I'm going to use my example. I'm upset because my working with my client is exhausting, or it's exhausting me. So it's totally okay to point the finger externally on the first step. That's what you want to do, actually. I had a hard time doing this because in the beginning I thought it was shameful to put blame on others, right? But this is putting blame on others for a purpose, and you'll see exactly what I mean. So step two is you turn that on yourself. So the first step, you point the finger externally. And then the second step, you point the finger internally. So you do that by rearranging any type of nouns like that are external, and you literally change them to yourself. So step one was, I'm upset because working with my client is exhausting. Then step two would be, I'm upset because I'm exhausting myself, or working with myself is exhausting. Right? So yeah. So step three, you ask yourself, is this true? And it's kind of a trick question because the answer is always yes. Right? Even if you don't feel like it's true, assume that it is. And this is really where you have to look within yourself and find out, where is this true in my life? Okay. Remember, this isn't getting like in your head about the details and everything. This is simply about revealing something within yourself that needs healing, that needs that unconditional love. So I was sitting myself with this, and you know, it's like, okay, working with my client is exhausting, but working with myself is exhausting. Where is this true in my life? And it's like, well, it's like, I'm not giving myself time to rest. Like, I'm distracting myself with random videos at night, and I'm keeping myself up beyond what I need, what I need to be, like, in my time. It's like, okay, if I'm meant to sleep at 11 or 12, then I'm keeping myself up till 2. Like, you know, just keeping myself distracted. And I was going to stop there, but then I kept on saying, I was like, well, why am I distracting myself? You know, it's like, well, I feel anxiety, and I feel like distracting myself keeps me. It's like a defense against anxiety. It's like, well, why am I? It's like, why am I anxious, right? And I realized that I actually have like FOMO. I have this fear of missing out. Like if I go to sleep, then my day is done, and it's like I want to extract something out of the day, but in reality, it's like it's much better if I just go to sleep, right? But it's like, well, why do I have this FOMO? Because ultimately, it's a feeling of loneliness. That's what it is, right? And that's what I mean by being like brutally honest with yourself. It's like you kind of just scale it back, scale it back until you get to a root thing. And it doesn't matter where it came from, right? Like we can talk, you could pinpoint the reasoning behind it, but that's not what this is about. The point is, I'm dealing with loneliness, and it's keeping me up at night. I'm keeping myself distracted, and then it's perpetuating the cycle of me being exhausted, right? Because I'm just running up in my mind all the day, the whole day. So after you kind of pinpoint what that is, and then step 4 is you ask yourself, what do I need right now to feel loved, or what do I need right now to be healed? And so this is where you really want to sit with yourself, and like it's okay to desire this, desire this from your higher self, desire this from God, desire this from yourself. Because if you're to desire some of this stuff from other people, like it could get to the point of like neediness or a clinging type of energy, right? But you're asking this from unconditional love itself, right? There is no condition. It's an infinite source. So this is actually where we're meant to receive this from, right? It's the actual source. Some people call God source. It is the actual source. Our source is not others or other things. It is literally the divine, right? And so I said I need partnership, I need affirmation, I need love. And I was kind of talking about this earlier. It's like there's so many times when I feel it's like, man, if I only had someone here to do this with, like, I'll get it done. So you have to ask yourself, like, you either ask or you simply just tell yourself, like, I choose to partner with myself. I choose to partner with God to take care of this task, right? And really, you can visualize it, right? Any way you feel is necessary, and you want to give yourself enough time to really receive it. So you can imagine yourself like walking side by side with your higher self. If some of this kind of brings up traumas from when you were a kid, maybe you envision that hurt or that wounded part of yourself as a child, and you're walking side by side with that wounded child, right? Like you often hear, it's like, be the person that you needed when you were a child, and this is really giving yourself that space to do that. So yeah, that's kind of it.
Awesome.
What y'all think?
I really
That's
like
great, man.
I really liked how you put it in like question form, or like almost like steps, because then I feel like I can keep using it and applying it every single time that I'm upset about something.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives me like a outline and structure to, like, usually when I feel this way or I'm upset, I probably feel anxious and scattered brain. So like having the steps just like structures it and helps me like 1, 2, 3 and then find the path instead of being like, oh mad. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you can really apply this to anything, and it's a little tricky at first. It seems very simple, and it is in some sense, but it's like I said, it's really hard to really just sit with yourself sometimes and really bring out. It's like yeah, there's this part of myself that I feel is unworthy. It's unworthy of this love. It's like but that is the very aspect of yourself that needs it, right?
For step 1, oh shit, were you gonna say something, Claire?
I was, but you can go first.
Are you sure?
Yes, go for it.
Okay. Oh, super quick. For step 1, instead of stating like I'm upset because, can we just state like a feeling? Like it can be any feeling. So I feel happy because, and then that can be kind of a positive affirmation if you are feeling a certain way, just to kind of uplift you, and then go through the root of your happiness, and then utilize that to kind of help heal as well.
That's a good question. I haven't done that. Like I said, this is more shadow work.
Okay.
So if I could maybe throw a 2 cents in there, Chevy, at that, I would say that would probably be best utilized at the end.
Okay.
Right.
When you're walking with yourself, or when you're like inviting the divine to connect with you, or however it is that you're looking to implement your own internal healing. Because the first part is like, you do want to actually, like Chris was saying, you do actually want to feel the emotion. Like you're actually giving yourself space to acknowledge and recognize it.
I'm meaning just like more in a generalized, like using it for shadow work, but also using it for like positive work as well. So maybe like, you know what I mean? Not saying to take away from like the shadow side, but just using it in multiple different feelings, different ways that you feel, or different facets of yourself.
Right. I see what you're saying. I've never done that, but can you maybe give an example?
So just stating like a feeling. So not, I feel an example, gratitude for X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And then going deeper, or I feel gratitude toward Chris. And then switching for the next one, I feel gratitude toward Chris because of this. And then now switching it to you, because essentially you are a part of my reality, which is a reflection of my internal. So now I'm using a positive part of my reality to internalize that internal part of myself.
That's good. That's actually really good. I get what you're saying. So
You know,
it's like not only you're not only pointing the finger at yourself with something that upsets you, but you're also acknowledging that anything positive externally is technically coming from within you as well.
exactly.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah. That is a good one.
That'll definitely increase your awareness. Again,
Yeah.
back to the reasoning why you feel any particular emotion at all. And I would say, in that same regard, Chevy, keep asking why.
Cool. So
Go ahead, Claire.
would anyone like to go on?
Oh, I just had something to say. So this is cool that you did this mirroring thing, because obviously I didn't know really what you were going to talk about. But like lately, I've been having days where I feel really awesome about myself and like my capabilities and just how I am. But then like the next day I'll be like low on myself and I'm like feeling insecure and stuff. And so one day last week I was like, man, like I just feel just like I'm not in like the middle. I'm just like either or. And so I was meditating, and I had this like visual of kind of like, I think I kind of asked myself like, okay, well, like what is the Claire that like I want to be, And so I sat down and meditated, and I kind of like I like felt a presence in front of me, and it was my higher self sitting in front of me in my meditation, and she was facing me. So I was facing myself basically, and I could like visualize what she, like the vibe she was giving off to me and what she felt like, you know, and like, so we were mirrored. And then throughout the meditation, I was just like, so I was having like a stream coming from my crown, and then she also was having a stream coming from her crown. And then eventually, like our third eye, there was a light that like connected us.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the end of the meditation, we were like connected like this. And then in a moment, she just disappeared, and it like the light shot into my third eye. I don't know, it was pretty cool, but like, but it just reminded.
Really cool. Yeah.
It was very nice. I was like, wow, like she's a part of me all along.
Yeah.
It was cool though, because it just reminds me of this mirroring thing in a way. And that's really awesome that that happened a few days before you were talking about this, you know? So
it does. That sounds very much like on the step 4, you know?
mm-hmm.
So another thing is that, you know, I feel like a lot of us, like when we slip in and out of, you know, feeling good or feeling bad about ourselves, sometimes we're like, okay, well, what am I doing wrong? Like things like that. And I feel like we're trying to kind of control the external reality.
Mm-hmm.
So this mirroring, it's more about accepting what is in front of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's bringing the awareness to what is in front of you right now, because like the entire month of September has just been very there's been a lot of turmoil like within myself, and I was very critical about it in the beginning, because it's like oh man, I messed up again, I slipped up somewhere, you know, like I did something wrong, like but now that I've kind of come out of it, and now that I'm giving this talk, I wouldn't be able to give this talk if it wasn't for that month of September, you know. So literally everything that comes into our life, it's not really our fault per se, right? But it is our responsibility to be aware of what's going on, and that awareness and the healing that comes from that awareness is the very thing that will shift. It'll shift our lives. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I definitely like your digging through this process, and you know, I think it is important to not accept a surface level answer from yourself,
Right.
because that's another, you know, kind of trap that we will do to ourselves, where it's like first thing that comes to mind of the, you know, where is this true in my life, and then okay, it's my time management, or I'm anxious. Okay, cool, so I'm anxious. All right, now I figured it out. You know, it's like another level of like place of stagnation, and I think it's important, like how you were saying, no, so why is that? No, so why is that? And you know, I think you would maybe try to keep digging till you can't answer anymore, till it's like hit almost a brick wall, or like blankness, nothingness, because you've really dug down to the root.
Exactly.
I like that.
So
Yes.
I am
Go on.
a little apologetic for having to ask you to repeat. I didn't write anything down. First step is kind of how the emotion you're feeling towards externally, the blame external.
Mm-hmm.
The second is recognizing that, or seeing if that's the same accusation you're making external is internal. And then the third is you're asking, is this true? And then
kind of no. So the second step, you said it, but I think you're mixing up steps 2 and 3 a little bit. So the second step is just to flip it inward. So if the first one you say like I'm upset because someone close to me judged me, the second step would be I'm upset because I judged myself. And
I see. Okay.
And then that's when you ask, is this true in any way? The answer is always going to be yes, but sometimes it takes a little sitting with yourself to kind of really uncover that. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like whenever you're like really annoyed with somebody that you're talking to, or like you meet someone and like their vibe is like not even their vibe, you just don't like something about them a lot of times because you don't like that about yourself and you're seeing it in another person and it's like triggering you. And then like you
Right.
yeah, so you look into yourself and you're like, oh wait, I do that too, like on the down low, you know. But I don't like
Yeah. Yeah.
fess up to it. Um,
Right. Mhm.
I do have a question though. How would it work if you started with something that you were upset at yourself with? Do you know what I mean? Like
Right.
in the
You would
second
just,
step, what would you do?
yeah, you would just skip one step.
You'd skip the step. Okay.
Yeah. If you already know what's troubling you from within, and there was nothing external that caused it, it's just something that just came up. But like for example, in early part of September, I woke up one day and I just felt depressed one day. No apparent external trigger for that. Um, but you can immediately go to, it's like, okay, it's like, I'm upset because I feel depressed. It's like, well, what do I need right now to feel loved? And you can just go from there. Yeah.
Mhm. Awesome.
Yeah. Cool. So anyone want to try firsthand?
Ladies first.
Probably have time. We'll probably only have time for one. So whoever feels compelled.
Okay, I'll go.
Natalie, cool. All right. So you can, if you know what it is without having to read it, you're more than welcome to close your eyes. Or if you want to read it first, and then I'll let you know when you can close your eyes.
All right.
So just take some deep breaths real quick. 3 deep breaths. Just be present with yourself. No need to judge what you're going to say, no matter how big or small it is. All right. Let's start. What is your upset?
Oh, okay. I hope I did this right, but I said I'm upset because I allow others' opinions and actions to determine my value.
Okay.
Okay.
So how would you turn that? What would that look like turning on yourself there?
But I'm upset because I allow my value to be I am upset because I allow my value to be determined by others' opinions.
Right. So you would want to actually change everything to point inward. So you would actually say, I'm allowing my values to be determined by my own opinions.
Oh, by my own opinions. Okay.
Right. Because when you say opinion, there's a connotation there that it's not the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're saying that you are believing, well, I'll let you continue. Is this true in any way?
Are you asking me a question?
Oh, I'm sorry. So yeah, I did want to clarify. So yeah, you said I'm allowing. How did you say step 2? You said I'm allowing my values to be determined by others' opinions.
I said I'm upset because I allow my value to be determined by others' opinions, but I just crossed it out and put my opinions.
My opinions, right. So when you ask yourself, is this true in any way? It would be true in the sense if you're believing a lie about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're because all this is about recognizing what is true and what is false, and we accept what is true, and you recognize what is false as illusion. That's what this is. So when you ask yourself that, you would want to ask yourself, what lie am I believing about myself that is causing me to feel this way?
I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah. Yeah. So after you write that down,
Everyone should write that question down.
right?
Yeah.
What was it? What lie am I believing about? What lies am I telling myself?
What lies am I believing about myself? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give Adelie, you can actually invite you to close your eyes right now and just I want you to look within and kind of search for one thing that you believe about yourself that really makes you feel uneasy. Whether you think it's true or not, just look for one thing. Because oftentimes that very thing that you believe that's true, that's making you feel uneasy, is actually a lie.
Okay, I got it.
All right. Would you like to share what that is?
I'm not smart.
Okay. So for the Adelie that doesn't believe she's smart, what would you need right now to feel loved in that place?
From myself to myself?
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on.
Yeah. Yeah. Take as much time as you need. There's no rush here.
Thank you. I guess just to like know that like the I guess to just like trust that like my opinion of myself is the most important, and that others, the external factors, is not what determines my intelligence. I don't know.
So you're desiring trust, essentially. That's what you want. You want trust, right?
Mhm.
So the truth of the matter is that I'll ask you a question. Do you recognize that the divine is infinitely trusting? Like you can trust the path that God is leading you down 100%, right?
Mhm.
So once again, I invite you to close your eyes and visualize yourself in whatever way you feel is necessary, giving yourself that level of trust that you need.
Okay.
All right. So how do you feel now?
Well, I was trying to visualize like my nursing self, and I was just like holding hands, and I was just like, and just like essentially, well, not just like with nursing, like with everything. So, but that's like what I picture when I think of like intelligence and like smartness, and that's like the main thing. So I was
Right.
just holding hands and just like her, almost like her giving me her like, or me giving me like her confidence, like once I'm in the field, and like her like just like quickness and like confidence in like what she's doing to me currently. So future
Right.
to me, present me.
Right. Great. Does that make you feel a little lighter?
Yeah, for sure. Because it's
Okay, great.
We know you'll get there.
yeah.
Great. Perfect. Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you, Natalie.
that was a great example. Great example, guys. So yeah, that's kind of that's what it is, and um, as these things come up in our lives, we're being asked to go within to really see what's happening here, to accept the truth of what it is, and to view the lies about ourselves that are simply illusion, right?
What do you think? What do you think about when you can't get beyond your own inadequacy, so to speak, such as like you're in a place that's deeper in
Mhm.
your dark emotion, such as like you can't even get yourself to acknowledge, you know,
Right.
allowing yourself to be loved.
Right.
I know
Exactly.
that's kind of
So
a deeper part, but
yeah.
what are your thoughts on it?
Right. Right. So that's when. So this work has to do with going within yourself, but it's totally okay to have someone kind of guide you, kind of like what I was doing. It's to if you want to look at a step before any of this, it's a lowering of like the ego enough to where you could say, hey, like I need healing in this place, or to be able to reach out to someone and say like, hey, I need help, um so yeah, that's what I would say.
To seek someone that might help you out.
What's come to mind whenever I've been in those places, the only thing that's worked for me is really kind of just humbling myself before the force, just to
Mhm.
get that clarity, because you're so stuck and it's just like you just break your ego for however long you can. That's,
Mhm.
yeah.
Hmm.
Definitely. There's a lot of ego lowering that has to be done before this, I know in the past, whenever I felt like I was beyond repair at some point, and I tend to isolate myself, which just perpetuated things even, made things even worse. So, um, so yeah, at some point like that had to break, and I was finally able to kind of reach out and to learn new things and to be open to share. Like I wouldn't have been able to give this talk even just a year ago, it just wouldn't have been possible. But life tends to find a way um to direct your path. That's how I see it. And sometimes people, it's just not their time yet. It's not their time to heal yet. Like they have to experience more contrast within their lives before they realize like, okay, something's got to give. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. A a lot of times, if there's something that you're believing, I like to think of it as like spells that are casted on us, like our words are spells that are casted on us externally and that we cast on ourselves internally by believing whatever that spell is that's been casted. And typically, the only way to uh, break an evil spell like that is to hear the opposite from somebody that you trust. And then that allows you to then believe something that's different than the spell that you've been casting on yourself for so many years.
Right.
It's probably a decent starting point, but I think it still comes back to the self and being able to, say those things to yourself on a deeper level. Because and the only reason I say that is because I come back to, and I'm just as guilty as this as anybody, but there's definitely people that are way guilty of it, where they just continuously seek out those positive spells from other people by, emotionally dumping on others the poor me uh, role,
Right.
so that they can get more. Uh, so they can just feed off of that energy, so to speak.
Yeah, Alex, that's a really good point. So that's why I mentioned in my talk that it's not about the details, because I have some friends like they'll literally tell me like a 30-minute story, and it's just a story, right? And I'd ask them, because like I'm just being wrapped up in this story that's not really going anywhere. It's basically gossip in many ways, And I would ask him like, well, like why'd you tell me that story? And he's like, I just felt like venting, and and like what you were saying, Alex, like after a while that gets really exhausting, because I've been hearing this guy's stories for years, you know,
Yeah.
and it's always the same thing, just a different scenario. It's, you know, it's a constant frustration, just different forms of it, you
Yeah.
know. So like so after learning this, I'm finally asking him, like, I'm like, dude, like stop telling me the story. It's like, how do you feel about this? Like, it's like, what is this really all about? And then like, it's so hard for him to say it, but eventually it's like communication with my wife, you know, something like that, right?
Yeah.
But it's like this whole 30, 45, even hour long stories just to distract him, that it's really not about communication with his wife, but it actually is, you know. And then ultimately that's communication with himself, because like, and then he started opening up even more of like, you know, what's really going on, and like things that he feels like he needs to hide from his wife, you know, things like that. So it just keeps on going on, but it started with this emotional dumping, right? And that's why I say, you know, don't get too caught up in the details of the story. It's more about like, how are you feeling in this moment? Yeah.
And I would say as well that is just as much as it can happen externally to you or to others, I would suggest that you ask yourself, what stories are you telling yourself, such as what you just shared with us, Adelie? What story are you telling yourself? What you'll come back to is that we have a lot of stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves, and they're just stories in our head.
Mm-hmm. They're very convincing too.
They're very convincing.
That's what I come to realize. They appear very convincing, but it's not true. Most of the
Or
time, it's not true.
what spells are you casting on yourself?
Yeah.
I think sometimes people like to tell you those long stories because they don't realize it, that they're trying to find answers about themselves by telling it to other people, and they're maybe hoping that, you know, when they tell it to someone else, the truth will come out from that person, kind of like a form of self-reflection.
I feel like they do that subconsciously, but in the case with one of my friends, definitely not consciously, you know, because if you allow him to continue to tell the story, he will continue to tell the story ad infinitum, to no end, to the point where you need to go to sleep, you know. So yeah, so at one point I literally had to put the brakes. I was like, yo, stop.
Yeah.
What's it all about? And then finally the layers of the onion started peeling out just by me redirecting it a little bit, you know.
There it is, man. That's the guidance that I guess
Yeah.
some people are seeking.
Yeah, and you know, like some people might be like, oh, you're giving what's the word? What's the word when you're giving advice that they're not asking for? What is that word?
Unsolicited.
Unsolicited advice. On one end, you could be like, oh, well, you're giving unsolicited advice, but like what Alex was saying, you know, like sometimes enough is enough. It's like I've been hearing the same thing for decades. It's like
I think that's where it's you got to be mindful about who you're sharing your energy with in that kind of regard. It's one thing if, you know, like Canito's saying is okay, they are seeking, they're sharing because they want to find an answer, or they do need a place of self-reflection. It's another thing if it's like, you know, they come to you every week with the same problem for, like you're saying, years. That's you know, you're being generous because you care about them, but you know, it's just important to be mindful how much you're giving to people like that. I would say, you know, anybody here that's, you know, sharing with you is probably fine. They're probably not sharing to draw from you. It's out there in the real world that you kind of got to be careful.
This isn't the real world?
Got to be careful for those vampires. Yeah. We're kind of in a bubble here. No, but this is good. This is good. I mean, this is like grassroots stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. This is realer than the real world, Chevy.
It is realer than the real world,
Dream.
actually. Yeah.
But when you go out into the matrix,
There you go. There you go.
you gotta watch out.
My neighbor is like that. I'm always, and I feel so bad about like dodging her all the time. And the other day I was just trying to walk Cuddy to the sunset and she tried to trap me, man. And she was like, "Oh, that's cool. I'll just walk with you to the end of the street." And like walking with me to the end of the street was her just like dumping all of her anger about all of this random shit. And I just literally had to put like a shield up and just like fling it back. I was like, I cannot absorb. I just couldn't get to the gate fast enough. It was terrible. It was
Right.
terrible, man.
Yeah.
So you gotta do your pyramids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keep that shit off of you.
Bad.
There's actually
Oh, what's up?
there's this saying that I kind of wanted to share because it kind of aligns with what we've been talking about here tonight. I heard it on the radio a couple weeks ago, but it it resonated with me pretty loudly. But I think what they were saying is like, you know, if you continue to play the victim and like blame other people or blame others for the things that are wrong in your life, then you're preventing yourself from being in a position of power to like take responsibility for your own life. So once you stop playing the victim, once you stop complaining about certain things, and that's when the real change. That's when you allow the change in your life to take place.
Yeah, exactly.
That
Yeah,
definitely
perfect,
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And you know, it goes back to the saying again that we always kind of come back to, which is, you know, you can't control others, you can only control yourself, or you know, you can't control the situation around, you can only control how you react. And yeah, it ultimately comes back to you, either what you're allowing or for your environment or for yourself even. And I think this goes back to the beginning of the topic like Chris started, which is, you know, that peace within you is going to create that peace externally.
Yeah, beautiful, guys. That's pretty much it. I actually wanted to close off with this. I feel like it's a nice wrap up. I didn't make a playlist, Alex. I don't know if you did.
I did.
Later. Cool. Perfect. I need to start to do that too. All right. But yeah, I wanted, so this is one mirroring exercise that I did. And it was like, I'm upset because someone close to me judged me. Whether that was true or not, doesn't matter. I felt judged, right? So I said, I'm upset because I judged myself. I'm judging myself. And is that true? It's like, yeah, it's like I compare my path to others, not only with successes, but even the severity of the difficulties. You know, sometimes I compare my path. It's like, man, it's like how many times do I have to go through the same cycle? Other people don't have to go through the cycle this much. Like, you know, that's a form of judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do I need? And I said, I need space to fail, to look silly, to be vulnerable. And it's okay to be me in any state of being. And that was kind of my mantra coming in here, because I didn't really feel 100% going into this place. But I was like, you know, I'm going to give myself the space to just be, right? It's like, I'm never going to be, I may never feel fully prepared to give a class, to give a talk, to lead people, but it's okay to be vulnerable, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what I did today.
Yeah. Killed it.
Thanks, man. Thanks for the
It was
lecture.
very, very beautiful class, Chris.
Phenomenal class.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Guys.
Breath of fresh air.
Take a deep breath, Chris. Let it out. You did it, man.
Thanks,
You
guys.
leveled up. You have leveled up, my friend.
So who's next? Chevy next week?
Yeah.
Oh God. I may be on the call. I may not. We'll see.
Hey, this is like standing up in class having to give your presentation. Chris went first. He got that shit out the way.
I know.
I love that.
Everybody else.
Well, I'm definitely going to take from like the step by step. I love that you gave us a guide to follow. So I'm definitely going to do some kind of step by step for my lesson next week. It's like it makes it tangible. It's not just something that we just are going to meditate on or think about. We actually have something like something to hold on to allow us to feel like we're going to the next level and not something that's just sitting with ourselves.
Right.
So yeah, I really appreciate what you've done.
Yeah. Great theme, great stories, examples, really great way to tie everyone into everything. Great job asking questions, asking for engagement. Yeah, you did a really great job, Chris.
Hey, thanks, man. That means a lot. That means a lot coming from you. Since I've been, yeah, has this been the first time that anyone has ever taught outside of you?
Other than Alex?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I think so.
I think so.
Since I remember.
Cool.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't really remember.
This is the first time, I'll say it. Nobody has ever taught before. It's always only been Alex.
Hey, we're all leveling up now. You know,
I've been telling y'all to do it for long enough, so
and now you actually just did it. Like,
that's why I had to voluntold you.
yeah.
Yeah, that was so funny.
No,
You got voluntold.
Yeah, I got voluntold. That's a military term. We use that a lot.
I never heard that before, but I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Claire and Natalie, you better get prepared for November because I'm expecting you all to do a class.
Word.
You laugh, but I'm not joking.
I know.
I know, it's a nervous laugh. I'm like,
He just said that he set an expectation, and he's taught us to set intentions. So now he's definitely setting himself up to be upset if you guys don't do it. And if he does get upset, then he's going to have a step-by-step guide to figure out why he's made himself upset.
No, I'm just going to lash out. I'm just going to excommunicate.
Nah, I love that we call each other out. It's good stuff. Yeah. It's the real, like we were saying.
Yes, that is the real stuff. Yeah, I've noticed we've been, we've kind of leveled up to that point where it's like, yeah, it's okay to call each other. No need to take it personally, right?
I think that's what we're here for, in a sense. I mean, it's not about perfection. I think I think that what you ended on is like perfect, which is like, okay, we might call each other out, but we should be in a space that we can be silly, we can be vulnerable, or do these kinds of things with each other so that we can break that barrier that's keeping you down, in a sense. It's not that you have to go off and teach hundreds of people now, but it's like you've went past that personal ceiling, and now should be. I don't know. How do you feel? Do you feel a little bit more alleviated or a little freer, or how do you feel, Chris, after doing it?
Yeah, I definitely feel more free. I also feel it's something that I've put off for myself for a long time. So it's a step actually towards my purpose. So it's not something that I'm just going to do this and drop my pack, I'm done.
Sure.
It's like, yeah, it feels like it was the first step for the next part of my journey. That's what it feels. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Love it.
I love the half face, Claire.
I
Half face close up. It's great.
Yeah. I'm here with y'all.
So yeah, I do have a playlist I made last night, so I'll share that with you guys. I liked it. So there's that.
Thanks, Alex.
You know, and I did want to touch on something that I meant to say last class. It's real quick though, but I don't think I did, which is, I've said it before, but you know, the reason I send a meditation, I'm hoping that y'all do it after class, is again, because this is kind of like your springboard, getting you in a right mental state. It's getting those spiritual kind of juices flowing and putting you into a state of mind that sets you up for hopefully a better meditation than you normally have, or whatever. So I definitely encourage it, but I know we all have jobs, we have lives, and so it's not, I don't have any expectation. I'm just letting you guys know I think it's a good opportunity to do a meditation. So this one is one of the one, then two chakra, 2 songs of chakra, 2 songs of chakra, 2 songs of chakra, and then one.
Awesome.
So
Drum circle this Friday, 6 p.m., Peggy Park, if y'all are available.
Yes.
I'll be working that Friday.
Peggy Park in the ghetto.
Is it in the ghetto?
How do you define the ghetto?
I know I've looked it up. It's off Alameda, so I was like, all right, god damn it, going off there.
What does ghetto mean to you?
Means where there's a bunch of hobos.
Well, we're gonna be a drum circle, which kind of attracts the hobos, I guess.
Hey man,
One
Well,
would
wanna
we
get
are
in
the
on it.
hobos.
We are the hobos.
We are the hobos. Yeah.
Well,
All right,
all right.
That's a wrap.
that's a wrap.
You don't have to
Good
go
night,
home, but you can't stay here.
guys.
Thank you again, Chris, for an amazing class.
Yeah,
Thank you all. Thank you
Yeah,
all.
man, much appreciated.
great hearing
Good
you.
job.
And again, I mean, you spoke clearly. You know, your words were, you know, really understandable. Everything. Yeah, you did an awesome job, man.
You're a natural teacher.
Yeah.
You got it, man.
I agree.
Appreciate that. Appreciate it. All right, guys. Well, love y'all. Y'all have a good night.
All right. Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Take care.
Bye.
Signing off.